very little. Yet when you actually go to upload your disavow file, Google explicitly states that to just disavow is not enough. You should try and clean up your link profile prior to disavowing. Now, I've recovered penalties without cleaning up, but it is much harder because if you're not showing Google that you felt pain and that you had to upload it to fix the spammy links that you've got, then they're not going to be as gentle on you when they're reviewing your reconsideration request. So, from my point of view, if Google are explicitly telling us to remove the links, or at least attempt to remove the links, then why wouldn't you?
I think now, I suppose we're supposed to argue, but there's nothing to argue about this statement. It's spot on.
Thank you.
You can try, certainly you can try to recover sites without having make that step, without having it down properly. Either remove the sites, remove the links, or no following, or change the anchor or something that's not commercial. But it's much more difficult. And I think it kind of makes sense. I mean, to some extent, if you've been building links actively, you've been violating Google guidelines, it doesn't matter how you feel about it. In their eyes, you've been doing it with private links. In their eyes, obviously, you made a mess. Why shouldn't you personally cleaning it out as well? So that kind of makes sense. Now, in some instances, it's obviously very difficult. If you're either running something like, something like an Explorer initiative, or it's basically numbers, the raw numbers that make it impossible because you've been building links for years and years and years, then it's not too comprehensive. But that does not change the fact that we have to make a serious effort and document it and share that documentation in your reconsideration request.
Well, much as I like this harmony, just to put something in a slightly disorder, what do you think is the agenda of these SEO agencies that quite deliberately stated, don't bother cleaning up, just disavow, come to us and disavow, we'll help you with that. What's their agenda?
I'm a little bit like these agencies.
We should ask those agencies.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a little bit like I can't speak for the agency.
I can share a thought here. Presumably, it's much easier to submit the disavow file rather than actually go ahead and clean up links that where the site might not be maintained in some cases, or where the webmaster might be reluctant to actually go ahead and use their time to either change it or remove it. So, in my opinion, I would guess it's just cheaper. It's much more time efficient.
I do want to reiterate again also the analogy that Kaspar just made. It's literally, you have to see it like this. You're in the kitchen, with your mother, parent, whatever you want to say. You're spilling over your glass of milk. Your mother is happy, I prefer your mother for a while. Your mother is happy to throw you the towel so you can clean it up. That's what Google kind of does. It's giving you some links, some ideas, some okay, these are the things you need to be looking at. Now clean up. Now, you may not be able to clean everything. That's okay too. If you miss a few spots, no problem. That's where you want to put in that finish the job. This is where this how-to kind of comes into play. But in the end, it comes down to you made a mess, you clean it up.
My thoughts on the matter is that SEO is very much an opinion-based industry, so what I think is right could be discredited by what you think is right, or I can discredit what you think is right. A lot of the people that are recommending that you go straight to disavow, maybe they just can't be bothered to try and remove the links for you. You never know. We've probably recovered around 150 sites from penalty, ranging from FTSE 100 to 3 people enterprises. I know from my previous life that there's a lot of directory owners out there that just aren't answering their email. You can send them 10 emails, they're not going to remove that link for you. So I do kind of understand the mentality of some agencies saying, look, what's the point of wasting time and resource by emailing dead mailboxes? But at the end of the day, Google says, look, we need you to prove that you tried to do this, whether it's via a webmail account that's full of sent emails, or whether it's full of some screenshots. If Google is saying, I mean, I've been doing this for about 8-9 years now, and Google tells us bugger up. It's trial and error a long time SEO. So when Google are actually telling us something, surely we should listen.
Do you know directly owners that will respond at all?
They would respond via mail.
I know some that do respond and say like, okay, $5 a week.
There is a man who goes by the name of Robin Gupta, and maybe you've heard of it. Well, Robin Gupta owns around 500 web directories, and Robin Gupta has no interest whatsoever in removing your link for free. If anything, in the last 6 months, he's renewed 300 de-indexed domain names. Because at $5 a go, well, the last directory that I crawled using Screaming Frog, so someone else did there, there were thousands of links in there. I mean, if he's getting, so I managed to negotiate down to $1.50, so we can't save you money. But if you're thinking if there's 1,000 links and he's charging $5 a go, well, I've been to Robin's house. Robin lives 11.5 hours drive north of Delhi in water range of the Pakistan border. Not many people go over there. $5,000 in Robin's hometown is a lot of money. So where's his incentive to remove your link for free? He used to get paid for making the links live. The guy's still got a week.
Did you go there to get your links to?
No, I went there because he was a supplier.
So I want to ask you guys, has anybody got any particular pain points with the whole process? Starting with maybe how do I diagnose? Maybe stage 1, I've got this penalty, my traffic's bombed. Could be as a result of link action, let's say. How would you go about diagnosing that? Does anybody have any particular pain points or want to get some tips from these guys here? What are the commonalities? What are the features? What are the things to look out for? Has anybody got an example? Thank you very much. This gentleman have mine. Or you can shout for one.
Basically, if you're sometimes your crowdsource or Google is crowdsourcing bad pages, right? You go in and say, I disavow these 20 pages. You're technically giving a list of things that you think are bad links. But really, you know, some of these websites might be blogs, which they're probably trying to earn a living. So you've actually gone to Google and said, I'm going to disavow David blog, I'm going to disavow Pinterest blog, because I'm just disavowing everything. Just because I want to get back into Google. You know, by disavowing these lists over to Google, we're not just crowdsourcing their bad links websites.
Yeah, but why should Google clean that shit up?
Well, actually,
it might not be that bad, but because you don't know all of the exact links, you just go, okay, disavow.
Well, my question actually would be, what's the problem? What's the concern?
What's the question?
Yes, because you're making a statement, are they crowdsourcing? Sure. They are. They're getting data just as much as they're getting data from you typing in a search query in the search box. Yeah, then you're giving them data. Absolutely true. But what's the problem? What's the question?
Well,
what's the concern?
I've done it a couple of times. In one case, I just sort of said, right, okay, send an email back saying, you know, I'm very sorry, I used Fiverr, you got some links, and I'm never doing it. And then thankfully they just re-indexed, didn't have to disavow, didn't have to do it. And then another time I went through and I disavowed probably 100 sites. But I knew that handfuls of those were legitimate sites, legitimate blogs. But I was just worried that I was just hurting those blogs by giving their URL to Google.
Yeah, so I would first of all not be worried about that at all. Yeah, for one very simple reason. Google's not going to say, or at least I assume in this case, but from our experience as well, they're not going to say like, okay, you know what, we have these one disavow mention for this one particular website, that must be a bad website. Yeah, you need to get to a critical mass. Now, just take, for the sake of argument, I'm not like this is purely hypothetical. Yeah, let's say we have 100,000 webmasters submitting each say 10,000 headers. Yeah, there's going to be overlap. Now, take the top 10% of that overlap you have a nice indication of what may be a problem area. What do you do with the 90%? Well, we're not sure. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt for now. Yeah. So if you're saying now, okay, I know a couple of good websites, legit websites, they have these. You know, I'm afraid to disavow them. Chances are they're not going to be in that top 10% of overlap. So I wouldn't really be too worried about that.
So as part of LinkRisk, we manage people's disavow. Never fails to disappoint me. YouTube has been disavowed over 20 times.
Consultancy wants to do that, isn't it?
Well, I mean, what are you doing? It's YouTube. I'm actually bothered to make a video. Yeah.
The links are already not followed there anyway.
I'm sure Dom, our developer, will be able to give exact numbers, but I know that certain directories have been disavowed over 500 times. To sort of reiterate what we said before, it's finding those top percentiles that it's going to cause issues. Matt Cutts, I believe, did come out and say that by disavowing a site, you won't harm it. Now, as he works for the Ministry of Misinformation, I'll let you guys decide whether he's telling the truth or not. I just know that we actively try and remove links and we actively disavow bad links. And the way we try and look at it is, let's pretend these guys are still working for Google. Can you look this gentleman in the eye and say, I earned that link? Because if you can't and you're under manual penalty, it's going to have to go. Made for SEO has to go. 5 or 21 that tweets that.
Okay, so to speak to a point around that, you're not going to hurt this X% in the disavow file, therefore there is other corroborative criteria. Can you guys, from your experience or otherwise, expand on what that corroborative criteria would be?
Just to reiterate on the question, because my problem here is there's a lot of assumption that may be based on what's being discussed in the industry. I give you that. But why do we assume that we actually know what is being done or what is planned with the data point? It may be used eventually for some evaluation. Frankly, I personally think it would be stupid not to utilize that data. But that doesn't mean that the sites would be actually penalized or they would have any kind of disadvantages in search. It might be just used as an evaluation point to cross-check with other signals.
For example, penguin. So,
exactly.
Just as a very simple example, if, now this is purely hypothetical, for my personal opinion, Google would be stupid not to use the collected 10% of the numbers that we just ran a moment ago, to use it as a data point for running their algorithm, the next update of Penguin, to see, hey, how much are we actually hitting of this? Yeah? How is this being recognized? Are we getting in a similar way? You know? And just use it as a data point. Doesn't mean that actually Penguin will apply to them. It's just during the experimentation phase, trying to fine tune the next Penguin. Why not? Why not use that data? You know?
If I may, one more point that has not been mentioned at all. The disavow file with data is a suggestion.
Yeah.
People might follow or not. So it's not a directive by no means.
Same as the normal on-page stuff like canonicals and sitemaps and stuff like that. A meta description. It's all optional in the eyes of Google.
But if you think that with disavow you put a text file in and you get CSV out, so something's happening.
Well, the conversion happening. From text files into No, the one thing that, I give you this one, it annoys me the fact that, and I wouldn't be filing a bug internally if I was still internally, but at least try to. But it's a little bit stupid that you have to upload a text file and you can export only the CSV file and you can't upload the CSV file in a way that you have to convert it back to a text file. It's kind of like, yeah, okay, that's something usability-wise that can probably be improved. Another thing I wouldn't mind seeing, to be honest, in the disavow file, or in the rules for disavow file, is an exclude option. So that you can, for example, that you can go domain level for blogspot.com and then exclude some of the subdomains that you know are good. You know, something like that. So, like an exclamation mark in front of the domain operator or something like that. It's a simple one to scan for. It's one character more. But that could work, and programming that is used often. But that option we don't have. But just also reiterating, like you mentioned YouTube. Now, as far as I know, most of the links, if not all, are actually not followed there, so I'm not too worried there. But to be honest, with Blogspot, WordPress, and a couple of these, if you have got bad links pointing to you from blogs and that type of content, just don't waste time. Just take domain, call them blogspot.com, and the variations of the other countries. That's it, done.
A school of thought around the disavow file as well is that maybe you put text in and CSV out because they just want to piss you off. It's what annoy you. But you know, you guys have been naughty, breaking our rules. You know what? We're going to make your life mildly inconvenient. You never know.
In the end, it is quick anyway. One thing I would recommend you, like, if you maintain your own disavow file and you use, for example, Google Docs or Google Drive, I would actually upload it as a Google Doc because you can export every single time as a TXT there, and you can give multiple people in your team access, and it keeps a revision history. So you can see who deleted what, when, etc. And then you can basically export when you're ready every next time. So if you, for a low-cost option, just to maintain your disavow file across multiple people, you happen to use Google Docs or Soho or that type of stuff, I would go for that. You know, like solve the problem that way. You don't have to import again.
It is amazing how many people. So we work quite closely with a lot of agencies. And like employee A just decided to overwrite the disavow. They didn't notice that. Google even tells you how many URLs are in your current disavow, how many you're putting in your new one. Do you not notice when the number's smaller?
Yeah.
But for the record, I'm not disavowing YouTube.
Fair enough.
We have another question from the floor, please. Anybody else got another specific question?
Yeah.
Over here at the back.
What really is bad that you try to sign it, or is it reactive to you?
Well, that's yeah. What is the bad link?
Give us some particular properties of bad links, something really quantifiable.
SEO web directory freesubmit.biz. Probably a bad link.
Someone violates webmaster guideline.
So these boys are going to sit on the fence on this one.
You mean a link is a bad link?
No.
Let me ask you another question.
Yeah, go for it.
Let me ask you another question. Would you keep it for the traffic?
Yeah.
Yeah? If you keep it for the traffic, why even bother? Just not follow it and it's fine. Can we get the mic?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, Paul, can you run with the mic? Is that alright? Because I think we're a bit short-staffed. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Madden.
We'll put you to work somewhere.
Thank you.
Well done,
that people can't, that a lot of people link to you the keyword that's focused on your industry, and too many of those cause a penalty of sort. I know a lot of companies that are actually requesting those to change the brand terms, for example. And so, you know, it's a bit of a difficult situation to know that to change the brand to remove the link, even though it's got a good site that's relevant, just because someone's chosen to use a relevant product you're working potentially.
Yeah. So a brand can be a keyword anyway. It can be a commercial keyword anyway. But just in the hope that it's going to make you sleep better, you will never be penalized, in my experience, for one single link, not even for a handful of links. So if people end up linking to your website saying, I don't know, what's the most commercial thing in
car insurance? Payday.
Yeah, that one's a little bit tricky. Anything like that, it's a handful. Otherwise, you get links that are either naturally grown or they kind of make sense. There's a good variety between navigational, maybe even typo, the kind of links that people actually put in place naturally. I would not be greatly concerned there.
I will happily take a link with a typo in these days. It just looks more normal. So
because these things happen. Yeah. People are really horrible in linking websites.
Question.
Just one last very quick thing on this one. Link building is not bad. Yeah, everyone, very simple. It's absolutely fine to link building. Just one thing, build it for the traffic, for the relevant traffic you get from it. Because what in the end do you want to do with your website? Do you just want people to come or to actually convert? Yeah? If there's a purpose to your website, try to obtain that purpose. Yeah? Go after the goal, and in most cases that's actually sales in some way or another. Yeah, some conversion type of thing. Focus on that, get relevant traffic on that. Then you should also not be too worried about if a link is followed or not followed. Actually, in most cases, if you're building a link, just in doubt, no follow it. If you're building a good product, which shouldn't be too hard, and you really focus on the user, and you're building it and exposing it using link building for traffic, with no follow, at key strategic points, plenty of people will build natural links to you.
Depending on your industry. Link building is hard these days. I know I have a link building agency. Whilst I don't want to go down the route of build something cool and people will naturally link, my business partners in LinkRisk have banned me from the SEO on their website because I'll just get carried away. SEO's like crack. I get to number 3, I'll be number 1. But because we are building something for our community, we've got links from Mars, we've got links from Search Engine Land. These people aren't going to link to my web spam agency. So I'm massively with the traffic, build it for the traffic. I mean, if you think that Chrome has about 50% market share, something crazy like that in browsers, if you think that a lot of sites use Google Analytics, Google knows when that link's getting clicked. And that has to be a signal. It has to be. Because that's the biggest signal of trust you can send to Google, is that somebody clicked that link. It has to be included. I don't know, these guys can't tell us, we're here saying bullshit like SEO is, but it has to be.
Okay, let's hear from Jason in the back.
Yeah, hi Nichola, hi Gareth, hi everyone else up there. Look, it's a moment ago, clearly, very good links to traffic, as I said, a few links, sprinkling links, but unlikely to be harmed. But the threshold is the doing combo. Let's presume we're at number 2, and I want to get rid of the guy at number 1. We know that a few links won't do any harm. So if we build the links to the guy who's at number 1, and it's not for traffic, and it's much more than just a few here and there, where do you see the threshold be?
Well, so if you...
We want to spam them out at number 1, from number 1. Just before Gareth. Imagine you're number 3, you want to go for number 1?
I wouldn't worry too much about numbers because you can buy 75,000 links for a fiver on Fiverr.com. So that should be enough.
Yeah, 75,000 is the number you should be going for it.
To be honest with you,
it depends on the market. Because if you go to Poland, you need a few 100 million.
Yeah, you do. The Polish guys love some extra stuff.
So essentially we're saying how much shit do we need to weigh more than...
Yeah, but if I'm honest with you, why not spend your time doing good things rather than trying to do bad things?
There's 2 reasons. One, I believe that building great things is a prerequisite for success in search.
Yep.
Having said that, if I do the crap as well,
it's just easier.
A lot of it moves up a bit. And I'm crazy anyway.
So Jason, you're talking about having like a backup cheerleading squad of churn and burn sites, is that what you're saying?
Oh, that's not a controversial.
Well, I suppose the big fallout of Penguin is negative SEO. Previously, we'd sell 5,000 links. Did they count? Did Google count them? Who knows? It just ignored them if it didn't like them. Whereas now the fact that they can put a negative flag on your website because of something that you've potentially not done, and Jason's invested £3. Crazy really, but it's kind of our own fault. Now I never want to sit here and defend Google. I've spent the best part of the last decade battling against them. I like to think that every now and again I come up in internal meetings, that bastard's still going. But it's our own fault. We abused the system.
So I think that leads us on to the next point. And so what if this penalty is not of our making? What if we're taking a dive in the rankings, and we can't really quantify why that is, and there's something there under the hood that accidental, some old ex-rumor bots still going on, or something like that. It's the same process.
To be honest, it's very simple. If you can't find it, get help. And there are multiple places where you can do that. You can do it for free in webmaster forums, you can do it for free in other webmaster forums, like the Google one, the other ones, Webmaster World or other ones. It doesn't need to be Google forum. But there are plenty of places where you can go, even on Google Plus. There's a bunch of communities that are dedicated on helping people from a technical SEO perspective, etc. So you can hangouts, OTCs and stuff like that. So
3 people on the stage,
for example. And there are hangouts also from the webmaster, the webmaster team as well, and John Muller with the hangouts where you can ask them. There's a whole bunch of free resources. Now on top of that, you have also paid resources, second opinion, other agencies, etc., individuals that you can basically ask for a second pair of eyes and tell you what may be going on. There's a number of things. It could also be a combination of, never forget that. It may not be just one thing. You could be hit by Panda, Penguin, page layout algorithm, and a few other ones on top of having a manual penalty. I would say you will have a little bit of work ahead of you, probably investment, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. In principle, everything can be resolved, and in a lot of cases now, I know there's a lot of talk about in the industry, like, yeah, Google is not telling me what is really wrong, etc. 4 years ago, you would not even have known that there was something wrong because there was no manual action message. Yeah, so to a certain extent, they are telling you way more, including giving you a hint which direction to look towards solving it. Of course, they're not saying everything, obvious reasons. We don't want to give former spammers or current spammers. They don't want to give them, or current. They don't want to give them ideas. It's fine. That's how they do it. And yeah, sure, I understand that. Like, just as a credit card company, if they don't expose, they don't tell everyone how their whole anti-credit card fraud department works either. There is a financial part behind it that can hurt the users. So I understand that, but yeah.
I also think that with the negative SEO topic, again, I know these guys won't confirm it for us, but we can see not much in Webmaster Tools. But I think that if you've got a Google login, you're going to see a different screen.
You want a confirmation or not?
And I think, well, you've got to. Bloody hell, how do you run the department? Show us in Webmaster Tools.
I can give you one. Very simple. Yes, negative SEO can happen, but it's extremely rare. A lot of people misinterpret negative SEO attacks as negative SEO attacks, where they're actually not. If someone builds a network, a spam network, say 5,000 or 10,000 domain names, and they want to spam the hell out of Google just to get traffic and get clicks on ads, just for a simple PPC model type of thing, they will most likely link to authority websites just to establish their own authority in the eyes of Google. Is that a negative SEO attack? I'm asking. In my book, it isn't. It is a spam attack, which happens to be victimizing you as a brand potentially. So you do want to keep an eye on your backlink profile in general. You want to look at a number of different aspects of your backlink profile. You want to look at the quality of websites, also for Penguin. Have a bunch of. If you find a lot of low quality websites linking to you, which may be excellent contact candidates, then you might be a Penguin candidate.
So just a thought on negative SEO, because it's really being talked about way more than actually happening in my experience. Every site that's out there that's been around for long enough will have some crappy backlinks. There will be all those sites that describe the value, your IP address, whatever. This is all not great links, and they will be pointing to your site. Just because your site is simultaneously not living up to your expectations in terms of being popular and visible in SERP does not mean that there is a negative SEO in effect, a negative SEO attack happening. And the other thing that I was just thinking, what Fili said a couple of minutes ago, yes, negative SEO does happen, but when negative SEO is being discussed in our industry, it's often the perception of squeaky clean, completely innocent site owner who did everything by the book and is now being victimized, even though it's free traffic that they're getting, so they should be counting on it in the first place. Yeah, that's not happening. If there is SEO working, it's usually working in combination with previously done efforts by the site owner or the webmaster. So it's not really the case that you have to look and turn around and check all the time your backlinks, even though you've been running a perfectly legitimate website and never building links, because that's not the likely scenario. Let me tell you that.
Also, numbers are a key thing.
And if you've been spamming for the last 4 years, then all of a sudden you claim, I've had a negative SEO attack, Google, please let me out of this penalty. These guys aren't stupid. These are mainly Stanford PhD engineers. Don't know about these two.
I wasn't.
And previously,
I was a smart engineer, but yeah.
Guys,
They're gonna know whether it's a negative SEO attack or you're just a spam. They are.
just wait for the mic. I'm just going to question over here.
And the other thing as well, I've seen people claiming negative SEO attacks on their brand and their website, and they pointed me to 5 links. I'm sorry, that is not a negative SEO attack.
Oh, the
I don't know what that was, but like we're talking about, you need to talk about thousands of domains before there may be a chance that something like that is successful. Yeah. And depending on market again, like a couple of thousand links will not do you anything in Poland, but a few 100 millions may in Poland. In the UK, it may be 10,000 or 100,000. You know, it differs per market. So most definitely, a lot of negative SEO mentions. Actually, check the numbers, because the majority of the time you will already straight away know, no, this wasn't. You know, this is just. Okay, sure, the shitty links, but it doesn't mean it's negative SEO. Or it was a negative SEO attack by someone who doesn't know what they're doing.
Okay, so is this on?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a really interesting thing to me, because I absolutely agreed up until Penguin 2.1 that anybody who had told me that they had a negative SEO attack happening, I could quite easily identify it was either a technical SEO problem, it was something they'd actually done themselves and had no idea that it had been done, or it was that someone else's site had been hacked and someone started generating thousands of links to theirs and kinds of stuff. But when 2.1 arrived, since then I've seen not huge numbers, but certainly some people who I could legitimately say, yes, I'm sure this is a negative SEO attack that's being perpetrated by someone in their competitive space. The thing about it is that it has been so obvious, like, that to me, Penguin should never have affected, like, if it had been affected by Penguin, or if they've had a manual action applied, my assumption is that maybe Penguin flagged them up and then someone said yes and put a manual action on it. But the thing that has kind of really confused me is that it is so obvious that nobody should have looked at that and said, oh yes, this person must be doing that. When it's a site that has never done anything like that before, it suddenly, appeared, it's so incredibly obvious, and I would expect that there would be something in the algorithm at least that would be able to identify, well, maybe somebody should look at this and see if it's for real or something. But it just seems to have, like, as of Penguin 2.1, those things happen. I know there are people who have actually been managing to manage that just by continuously disavowing the stuff that's being thrown at them. But there are a handful of people who have actually been hit with a penalty and have had no end of trouble trying to get that lifted, and are still appear to be affected by Penguin even though a manual action is gone. And so I guess my question is, it seems that Google just has this pat answer of, well, we're really good at detecting negative SEO and it's not happening, and these people are feeling like nobody's paying attention, that it's not going to actually even get looked at because Google just believes it's got it right. So do they go back and look at stuff and and kind of look for these things, or do they just believe, drink the Kool-Aid and say we've got it all handled and everything's fine?
I have an opinion on this, funnily enough.
I don't even know where to start.
I know where to start, but you can go first.
Okay, so I have three quick points. So, an increase in potential blatant negative SEO in the wake of Penguin 2.1. Is that because we're publicising the fact that negative SEO can potentially happen, that more and more people in the mainstream are, think about ice cream van wars, where these people are stealing each other's ice cream vans. Well, is the digital equivalent me emptying links onto your website? So that's something for you to bear in mind. The Google hiring process, in terms of who does these manual penalties, I don't know how they go about doing it. Have they outsourced it? Have they got to work? Because there must be tens of thousands of reconsideration requests that go in now. Has that person got 10 seconds to make a decision before the next site flags up in front of them? So they're not always going to have the time. And Matt Cutts actually came out and said they don't have the ability to give any annotation other than with a 4th or 5th reconsideration request where they give you the 3 sample links.
Can I interrupt you right there? We were talking about Penguin. Penguin has nothing to do with manual action.
Okay, so on the
well, she did make one point on. She did make a point on. Yeah. This is the one other thing that I would say on this one, because you mentioned to have penalties, manual action on sites, and first hit by Penguin, then manual action. That's what you mentioned in order, and then basically get the manual action revoked, and then still be affected by Penguin. The key thing there is already you disavowed and removed links. You're not going to rank the same. Yeah, you were ranking in a place where you weren't supposed to rank. Now, if that's Penguin or not, that's, yes, that could be based on what's left. Doesn't need to be. Yeah, it can be because you're lacking the links and you actually rank where you're supposed to. So, putting the two together is a dangerous mix because there can be a lot of different interpretations coming out of that. When it comes to the reconsideration stuff, well, we do know the answers. But
on top of that, just to really address what you were saying in the beginning about a lot of people obviously being affected for one reason or another. I don't know those cases that you're talking about, obviously, but I spend a fair share of my time at Google and after actually looking at those escalations. Whenever there is an update that people believe is in place or actually is in place, no matter which number or name it has, everybody is affected. And everybody is being victimized. Except they're not. They feel like that. But it's not the case. Unless you receive a manual action warning in your Webmaster Tools, you very likely do not have one, for all I can tell. And just because everybody is yelling that there is a rollout and they have experienced some drops, that does not mean that they actually have experienced these drops because of an algorithm. Let it be Penguin or another one. It can be something completely different. If you have your site not indexed because you're not allowing Google to crawl it, it will never live up to your expectations in search. And yes, I've seen that happening. So if you see that, if you see a lot of people saying this is happening to my site, take it really, all those statements, take it with caution and don't really draw conclusions. Focus on that which you can actually verify. That's the data of your site or your websites. That you can double check. Everything else, it's industry rumors, nothing else. And
just a quick note on algorithms, updates, specifically Penguin, Pando, any of the other ones. Yeah, there are so many out there and so many changes being made on an ongoing basis. And on top of that, the whole internet is in continuous flux. Yeah? On top of that, the user requests to the search box are in continuous flux as well. It's continuously changing all the time. The best way to play into that is update your site. Play into that part. If you say I've been hit by Penguin, well then fix it. Don't dwell on it, fix it. If you have found out, okay, what can I do to improve my site for my users? Most likely, there is a good reason why you're ranking less. You know, why other sites rank better. And that's probably content with context, you know?
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's very unfair that somebody could just pull links and with your website. What can you do about that? Nothing. I promise you one thing. I can build links to your site quicker than you can disavow.
I guess that's where my fundamental question comes from. Do Google actually think about that? It seems like every time someone mentions negative SEO, out comes the pat answer of, we're really good at detecting negative SEO, it can't happen. Okay, what I'm saying to you is, I'm aware of possibly a handful of sites where it is happening successfully. And that's my question. Are they going to just keep saying they're really good at detecting it and leave those handful of people in that situation, or are they constantly looking at the possibility that maybe they're not as good at detecting it as they think they are?
Well, the fact that they have multiple rollouts answers your question. They're continuously tweaking the algorithm. That's your answer. They are continuously looking at all cases, trying to improve the algorithm. So, sure. And they also want the reports, like, hey, false positives, no false positives, and you can have to document. They want to have that because they'll double check that, then they use it in the sets, and then see if they can improve that, their algorithms. And if they agree to the fact that it is a false positive, because again, probably about 99 out of 100 times, it isn't actually a false positive, it's just a perception of being a false positive. And that's just because we're having on the wrong head. As individuals outside Google, they're focusing on the users. Like one thing that we tend, especially in the SEO industry, we tend to forget is Google isn't focused on SEO at all. They're nowhere, they're not reading your email, you're not being discussed during any meeting. Don't worry, not you alone.
You wish. I haven't succeeded yet.
No, it's really, they don't care. Sure, they like SEOs because SEOs make it easier to crawl the web. Now you have to keep in mind, this is an argument I actually had a moment ago as well, but you have to keep in mind, the amount of documents in the trillions more that they have to crawl on a day-to-day basis, the amount of different languages that they have, the amount of different coding styles they have from different developers, errors that come with that, servers that are not configured correctly. Multiply that across all these sites, that's the whole World Wide Web, which is continuously changing in content, in what goes up, what goes down, what is changing and still there, in URL search, everything together. Now, try crawling that. They love SEOs. We're making their job a little bit easier on this part, But that said, SEO doesn't rule Google at all. Uses it. There's like over 1 billion users worldwide that are using Google, according to some of the latest stats. That I have no idea where they are, but as far as I'm aware, there's more than 1 billion users. They're not there yet because we got like 6-7 billion people on the earth. They're growing. They have the Loop project. They have all these other projects trying to expand their user base, etc. Totally fine. That's what they are. They have 1 billion users. The majority of these are not SEOs. They don't care about SEO. They don't look at SEO. There's a very small part of them are webmasters, and even a super small part of that are SEOs.
So Fili, that leads me on to a point about the reality of SEO today and where the industry is heading. Do you not think there's a danger that we're kind of miring ourselves in reactionary activities and we're in danger of, having digital PR or social media agencies eating our lunch?
Well, one thing to keep in mind, we as a small industry have destroyed a lot. Link building, guest posts, infographics, all this stuff that is actually fun for actual normal users, we pretty much destroyed it. Which is fun. We've had our impact, don't get me wrong. But in the end, it comes down, in the eyes of Google, from where they're going from, in my personal opinion, where they're coming from, user experience marketing. That's what we should be focusing on. That's probably the next level of SEO, in my personal opinion. Focusing on user experience as a marketing element.
But you are going to have to massively bear in mind your history. An analogy that I quite like is if you've had a manual action by Google, it's like you've been caught cheating on your wife. She may well take you back, but she won't trust you the same.
Or, it's not about trusting that. I think forget it. No, they might actually trust you the same if you solve the issue. That's not the problem. If you solve the issue, the trust is there again. That's not the problem. If you don't solve the issue, you indeed will have the trust problem.
I believe Google can be a very forgiving wife.
Yes.
That gives you a second chance.
And it continuously gives you even new chances, right?
Just don't be an abusive husband.
Yeah. And from our side, very much, when I was working at Google, it was really internally, for me, it's like, it was everything, give the site the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, you need to prove that actually something bad is happening. And you don't need to prove it to yourself, you have to prove it to multi-levels.
But can Google do that on scale with a,
yes.
That's a very simple answer.
Yes, that's a very simple answer. Yes, they've already been doing it. So it's not a question if they can, they're already doing it.
Yeah, I actually have a question if that's okay for you too. And so I disavow a lot of links that I can't get removed. I get
What's a lot? Of how many?
Okay, let's say percentage-wise, I disavow 75% of the links that I can't get removed.
That's okay. That's not that much.
So what happens when you remove the manual penalty and then I delete the disavow file?
Yeah, so you're trying to play around with the system. You're not the first one to do that.
I would have been disappointed if I was. But
go ahead. My other question would be, is that your pet project?
I have many pet projects. You don't want to know what they are.
So in a nutshell, very simple. They do keep records. They can see everything that happens basically over time, which is normal, like every company does. You know, it's no problem. If you had a manual actual repo, and you, for example, delete the disavow file, you will spike the traffic. Yeah, of course. You will spike the traffic. You have not solved the issue at that point anymore. You will be, I'm guessing here, depending on the amount of traffic and the industry, you will be at some point, you will be flagged again and reviewed again. If then your links are totally back again, the penalty go back on. They can then also see that you already tried to remove it and got that removed. They may not be as forgiving the next round and make sure that you don't do it again.
Removing a second penalty is difficult.
So my question would be, if you were for a moment, you put yourself in the situation of being a spam fighter, would that make you raise an eyebrow if you see that the site that used to be penalized one way or another, out of blue, deleted the entire disavow file? Would you consider that suspicious?
Yes, but then I would look to see how many validated users are on the Webmaster Tools account, because it could have been an accident.
Right, so you would look into the signals.
All about the signals, guys. All about the signals.